Hello, how is everyone? We're back with some more Necrobarista. Might be finishing this up soon, depending on how many more story points we have to get through. Yeah. We're gonna be continuing this. And we'll see how far we get this time. Let me just very quickly go ahead, switch on over. Yep, there we go. Alright, here we are. You were here last time, right? I'm curious, like, what is this, like, entrance? This looks like some sort of minecart railroad track kind of thing that just goes out, but you know, they say this place is both like the living and the dead, so where do the living come in? I can understand the dead, but what about the living? Either way, we have stories to get through. Let's go. I've been thinking, said Kashan. Uh-oh, said Maddie. About the people that I've left behind. Well, I'm not going to see any of them again. One of them could be about to walk through that door. What taught me with possibilities? You brought it up. Yeah, well, he slumped over in a funk. Death has a real finality to it, you know? Yeah, it does. That's death. Travel from life to death is a very one-way street for all but a few individuals. For all but a few individuals. And if you're standing here, then it's a bit late for chest paddles. Guess I'm thinking more about the fact that I'm not going to see any of my old friends again. Not as long as they're alive, anyway. It does tend to be how death works. Hope you're not surprised. Not surprised, but also I wouldn't have been surprised if that wasn't the case, you know? Like, I'm pretty sure on at least one occasion I've threatened people by saying, I will haunt you, and now that's never going to happen. Pity, said Maddie. It could have been someone's grudge It could have been someone's grudge ghost film. Guess that one's confined to the annals of Japanese horror cinema. Hey, I was wondering, do you think there's any way for me to see what's going on at my funeral? Don't, said Maddie. Alright. I just thought, you know, it's kind of everyone's fantasy, right? See what people have to say about them after they've passed. Wouldn't you want to see what was going on at your own funeral? I think it's none of your business what goes on at your funeral, said Maddie. Really? Said Kashan. Makes me think it's pretty common for people to plan their own funerals. At least if they go late enough that they can see it coming. You know, I'd like to have my brother deliver a eulogy. Don't let them play any Barry Manilow songs, that sort of thing. Maddie blinked. You have a problem with Barry Manilow? No, I have no particular opinion on the man or his music, Kashan. A lot of people who are old enough to be planning their own funeral do. You can make your plans, but whatever unfolds at the funeral is up to those who attend it. Kashan blinked. What about the wishes of the dead? I thought you'd have a bit more sympathy for their interests, considering how often you interact with them. I care plenty about the dead, said Maddie. You're asking about funerals. Funerals are for the living, my friend. Sean opened his mouth to respond, but cut himself short. Never thought about it that way. I'm not sure what to say. You're short on words, but high on energy. You could spend some of that energy by carrying this box upstairs, said Maddie, gently kicking a large cardboard box that was resting underneath the counter. There's an alcove next to the bookshelf that would make a good home for this box. John picked up the box, grateful for something to do with his hands. It was heavy enough that he had to make sure to lift with his legs and not with his back. Not so heavy that he felt out of breath by the time that he reached the top of the stairs. Breathing was heavy, but not labored. A good feeling. John set the box down at the spot Maddie had designated and sat down for a moment, waiting for his heart rate to return to normal. Felt good to feel his heart beating inside of his chest. This is how it feels to be alive, he thought to himself. Dang, I'm gonna miss it. Alright. That one's pretty cool. Pretty cute, I guess. Alright, what else do we have around here? Anything over here? Beth 2! Oh boy. Beth swung her knife in a horizontal slice, and the crowd let out an ooh. Not too loud, she said. Her eyes were fixed on Kyle. She was speaking to the crowd. I 71 is someone coming down here investigating a noise complaint. Heard a few grumbles in the crowd, but they quieted themselves. Everyone understood her meaning. Playing with real knives in this manner was the kind of thing that was strictly forbidden, and no one wanted to be on the wrong side of Maddie's bad mood. Even those who didn't fear death quaked in their boots a bit at the prospect of Maddie's wrath. She made a few more horizontal slices with their blade, cutting the air. It was the kind of thing people did to warm up the crowd, but Beth was unconcerned with what people thought about how she fought. Her movements with the knife were the only practice she was going to get with this knife. She did her best to memorize the feel of the blade as it cut through the air. It was a terrible knife for a fight like this, the serrated edge. It was designed for ripping and tearing cooked meat that stood still on a plate, not fresh meat that was attached to a body prepared to evade its cuts. This was an entirely different kind of knife fight than the one before. Playing with practice knives, the goal was to strike the opponent in the torso. Playing with live knives, common etiquette dictated that stabs to the softer parts of the torso, like the chest or stomach, stabs were most likely to be immediately fatal to a normal person, were strictly against the rules. In this battle, the goal was simply to draw blood. Cut to the arm or leg would do. Cal was the first to make a move. He tried to feint to the right before hopping back to his left foot and swinging at her, but he made such an obvious show of telegraphing the attack that Beth had stepped out of the way well before his attack came. Kyle grinned. Guess I'm not going to outsmart you. Beth kept her steely gaze trained on Kyle's right hand, one that held the knife. Well, he said, guess I'll just have to outspeed you. This time, he stabbed straight forward with the thrust of his arm. First time he had made an attack without fully committing to it by moving his feet. Beth had been afraid that he might try this. I was nearly half a meter taller than her, and he finally figured out that his longer arms gave him a tremendous advantage against Beth in her shorter reach. That was directed at her shoulder, and she managed to duck out of the way fast enough. There was no time for her to offer a counterswing before Kyle pulled back and stabbed again, this time attempting to strike where her arm had been had she not moved just a moment sooner. Beth backed up, giving Kyle space and hoping to bait him into making a bigger attack, but he seemed content to continue attempting the one tactic that had come close to working for him. As she stepped back, he stepped forward, and only after planting both feet did he go for another stab. There was nothing Beth could do but step back, giving him even more space to maneuver, all while becoming increasingly aware of how close her back was coming to the wall behind her. Needed to do something to throw him off balance and find a way to reset. Stepped to the side, forcing Kyle's next attack to take a horizontal arc to reach her. As soon as she saw that blade coming, she swung her own blade. Heard the ding of metal hitting metal as the two blades made contact, and the serrated edge of Kyle's knife hit the smooth edge of hers. Stayed like that for about half a second as Beth kept forcing Kyle's knife to the side. With the knife still locked, she strafed around him until her back was no longer against the wall, placing the two of them on equal footing. This would never happen in a real knife fight, Beth thought to herself. She'd been saved only by the serrated edge of Kyle's knife. He grinned, apparently enjoying the moment. Yes, Kyle, we're doing it just like in the movies. You know that when you think of a knife fight, you think of two swords, or two Jedi facing each other with blades locked. Not supposed to go like this, and right now, you're about to lose the biggest edge you had. Finally slid her knife out of the lock, releasing Kyle, who seemed completely oblivious to the fact that their footing had changed. He was so bad at this that he didn't even have an awareness for what it meant to have her with her back against the wall. While Kyle lacked in brains made up for in physical size, Beth was still left with the problem of how to get around his reach. I was doing too good a job of controlling space between them. Couldn't go straight for his chest like she had before, now that she intended to strike him in the chest. She hadn't forgotten the rules. The reach made it equally difficult to go around him. Going over him was certainly out of the question, which meant that her opening had to be from underneath. A stab to the groin would certainly be against the spirit of the rules, but she might be able to get a good shot at his legs if she got close enough to the floor. There's no way to get under his arms from a standing position. If she was going to attempt a leg strike, she would have to commit to it. She needed to create an opening. Fainted sideways towards the wall. Unlike Kyle's attempt at a feint, Beth's move to the left served the dual function of placing her weight in a perfect position to push off her left foot, moving right when Kyle moved left. She made as if to swing at him from the right, which prompted Kyle to stab in that direction. With his body moving left and his arm moving right, the reach of his arm was effectively reduced. Reduced enough for her to slice under it? There's only one way to find out. Bent her knees, falling forward like a sprinter leaning forward on the starting blocks. There it was. He was twisted to the right, reflexively trying to kick at her, allowing her to lunge forward and place her knife directly in the path of a swinging leg. He was grunting. Whoa! He let out a panic yelp. No, he wasn't twisting. He was falling. With the way her knife was pointed up, it was positioned to anchor itself directly into his belly if he fell on top of her. He reflexively tossed the knife aside, hearing it clatter to the floor as Kyle's weight came down on top of her. His tumbling knee struck her directly below the chest, and she felt herself falling back. Her head falling to the floor until the moment she felt the impact of the ground on the back of her head, and everything went black. Oh boy. And that is why you don't have knife fights. Have I always had a reticle? Huh. A lot of plants. Hey! Wait a second. Isn't this meant to be like the entrance or something? Isn't this meant to be the entrance to the cafe? But didn't we, like in the opening scene, didn't we come from like a shopping center or something? Something like that? A bunch of other buildings? What happened to that? Is this like a slightly different area or something? I don't know. It's very confusing. Anyways, Teen Transient. Awesome. Teenage boy approached the counter. Over slumped forward, head down, eyes on the ground, up until the moment he looked up to order a drink. He was old enough that he could have passed for a young adult with better presentation. The posture, coupled with the oversized backpack he was wearing, were a dead giveaway. Irrespective of his age, he was still just a kid. Can I get a Coke? In order befitting of the kid. Yeah, I think we can manage that, said Maddie. Think fast, said Shay. I turned around just in time to see an illuminate can hurtling towards her. She almost caught it. Can rolled back towards Shay, who scooped it off the floor. Hesitated a moment before setting it on the counter. No ice, right? Said Shay. Boy nodded. No, or yeah, yes to no ice. They cracked open the can and poured it into a waiting glass, which he then slid down the counter, pushing it gently enough that it came to rest in front of the teenage boy. The boy grabbed the glass. Thanks, he said. Glanced around the room. If you're looking for a place to sit, there should be plenty of seats upstairs. The boy nodded and headed for the stairs, drink in hand. Plenty of seats down here too, said Maddie, turning to Shay. Yeah, said Shay. But I think upstairs is more Twan's pace. What did you just call him? Twan, said Shay. People have names, you know. That's the problem with having regulars, said Maddie. People expect you to remember their names. Now that I think about it, Twan probably wouldn't mind finding out that you don't know his name. You have your name on Maddie's hit list if she doesn't know it. Would he be on my hit list? Said Maddie. Nah, he's harmless. Maybe a bit susceptible to peer pressure, but I think that's why he comes here. Meet with peers? Meet people who aren't his peers, said Shay. How many glum teenagers do you see around here? Too many, said Maddie. Maybe not enough, said Shay. Please tell me you don't actually mean that. Teenagers have the highest noise to spending ratio of any demographic. Not the glum ones, said Shay. If I were a glum teenager, trying to find my place in the world and trying to carve out an identity for myself, I could imagine a worse place to do it than right here. Teenagers can go be glum somewhere else, said Maddie. Whatever happened to proper teenage delinquency? Be careful what you wish for, said Shay. You've been mercifully delinquent-free for a while now. Proper teen delinquents don't loiter in coffee shops, said Maddie. Set things on fire, spray paint alleyways, and stay out past curfew. Does the city have a curfew for minors? It should, said Maddie. You need to be able to break rules, and all the better if committing acts of vandalism at 11 p.m. gives them a 2-for-1. Maybe they should avoid delinquency and just stick to general mischief, said Shay. Oh no, said Maddie. We already have plenty of mischief around here, ever since Ashley set up shop. Got it, said Shay. Next time I see Tuan, I'll tell him he needs to be committing more crimes. What do you do if he actually takes your advice? He won't, said Shay. Peer pressure only works if it's from a peer. One of my age telling him that it would be cool if he starts swiping liquor won't do much to assure him he's becoming a thief. It's a ticket to popularity and acceptance. But find another teenager to tell him. I'll keep my eye out, said Shay. That was pretty cool. I had to read the sign to go in, is that it? Anyway, billiards 3. Oh boy. And I came up the stairs to see Thomas standing over a sobbing Brad. Thomas looked over at her and she beckoned him over to the stairs. Excuse me, she said. Come downstairs for a moment. Thomas looked over at Brad, who was sitting on the floor, facing his hands. He nodded to Manny and followed her downstairs, leaving Brad to sort himself out in solitude. Manny slid behind the bar and Thomas sat down in front of her. What are we doing here? Said Thomas. Getting you away from him, said Maddie. I think he needs a few moments alone to get it all out. Some people like to cry with others, and others like to cry alone. Don't strike me as the kind of person who likes to cry in front of others. Alright, said Thomas. Can I get you another beer? Said Maddie. I think I've had enough for one night. What did you tell him? Said Maddie. Do you need to know? No, but I think you're struggling to figure it out yourself, and I think you might have an easier time in understanding it if you try to explain it to someone. I'm the only one here, so... She shrugged. You can think inside your own head, or you can think out loud. If you want the latter, I've got ears. Now let's lean forward, placing both elbows on the counter. I think we'll have that beer, actually. You got it, said Maddie. What do you think I said to him? You're asking me to guess? Yep, said Thomas. Guessing that he is a kid who carries around a lot of painful truths. Guessing you told him a truth that turned out to be painful. I think you may be right. I think maybe I tell the truth too often. I have nothing against the truth in principle, but not all truths have to be told. You suppose I ought to make up a story for him? I don't exactly understand what's going on between you two, but he obviously cares what you think of him. He wants to impress you. Do you think a false compliment would sting even worse? What do you think I should do? It thinks I'm a dang hero or something. I think sometimes it's okay to give people what they want, not necessarily what you think they need. I get the impression that this would be his last chance to get that from you two. You may be right, said Thomas. Both the truth and lies can hurt people. They can also build people up, making them feel better. When you tell a lie, you're the one that has control. You can keep lying to hurt people, or you can lie to help them. Sometimes you hurt people without meaning to, but no matter how it turns out, on you. He sighed. Truth isn't like that. You don't get to decide what the truth is. You can only say it. Whether it hurts someone or helps someone, well, that's up to them. Sometimes we hide the truth because we think it hurts. So which is it? Thomas shook his head. Maybe it's neither. Maybe pour Thomas another glass. Another Guinness. Lies of omission or lies too. Sometimes concealing the truth is just as simple as saying nothing. You think you can hurt someone by staying silent? Mary set the glass down in front of Thomas. Do you think the truth hurts more? Thomas studied the drink in front of him. There's only one way to find out. Got from the bar, leaving the glass of beer undisturbed as he walked upstairs. Brad's eyes were still red when he saw Thomas walking up. He tried to focus on the pool table in front of him, doing his best to ignore the old man. It worked, until Thomas put a hand on Brad's shoulder. Brad, do you know what the difference between us is? Brad shook his head. You played for glory. I played for money. Thomas paused. You know how we're similar? Brad shook his head. Neither of us played to win. Well, you said you were in it for the money, said Brad. Yes, said Thomas. But there are lots of ways to make money playing pool. Thomas leaned against the table. I made my career on being predictable. There's a lot of money to be made if you can predict the outcome of events that seem like they're up to chance. Especially when you're the one who controls the outcome. I looked at Thomas with confusion. Every single year I made the finals, I was favored to win. Betting odds were in my favor. Almost every time. You think that I lost every one of those games because of nerves? Shook his head. Played pool for less than 10 years, but managed to make enough money in those few short years to retire. You're the math kid. Money didn't come from tournament earnings. I let out a low whistle and looked at the famous Thomas Walsh with new eyes. You're not the man you think I am. Brad shook his head. I don't believe it. The man turned away from him, almost like he was afraid to look Brad in the eye as he said it. Like I said, I have no regrets. Played for money, and as it turned out, that was the right decision for me. For you? I can't imagine anything better than playing for glory. Still a great pool player, said Brad. No one can take that away from you. You're a champ, said Thomas. That's something I don't have. Play from the heart. Well, maybe if I'd done the same, I'd have a title to my name as well. Thomas leaned against the table and nearly collapsed onto the floor. Brad caught him. Old man huffed a bit as he struggled to his feet. Plus, you've been drinking those fake beers all night. Maybe I ought to take a page from your playbook next time. And enough pool for one night, said Brad. Yep, said Thomas. As he walked down the stairs, Thomas stumbled on the bottom step and Brad called him. Feeling okay, old man? Won't be driving home tonight, that's for sure, said Thomas. Brad chuckled and the two of them walked out of the building. On the bridge out of the terminal, Brad looked at the old man who barely seemed to be able to support his own weight. There was so little left of him, and yet the man could play. Still an ace, said Brad. You don't keep up that level of skill without a lot of practice. Thomas said nothing. He kept on playing, even if you were tired. That you didn't play from the heart? Old Pocky. Thomas just smiled at him through weary eyes. At the end of the bridge, Brad paused at the threshold. Guess this is the end, said Brad. Guess so, said Thomas. He exited the terminal, and moments later, only one man remained standing outside as the other dissipated from existence, on to meet whatever awaited him after death. Thomas raised an arm. Taxi! Man. Actually, that one was kind of a twist, because you expect, like, Thomas to be the ghost, but no, it was the other one. Oh well. Hey, an axe! Oh boy. I studied the gentleman at the counter as he raised the glass appraisingly. Her eyes narrowed on the drink in his hand as he took a sip. Something in the way the man carried himself that irritated Maddie. She was irritated, not mad. Nothing he had done was rude or otherwise improper. If anything, the thing that bothered her was the fact that he seemed too proper. His hand rested on the counter felt very deliberate. There's nothing lazy about the way he sat, perfectly upright. What he did with his hands, one on the glass, the other resting deliberately on the brim of the top hat. On the brim of the top hat he had placed on the counter when he walked in. No, he said. I'm afraid that's not it. Set the glass down. Is that better or worse than the previous one? Said Maddie. Closer, I think, but it's hard to tell. You just know it when you taste it, you know? Yeah, said Maddie. I know. Picked up the whiskey bottle and began pouring another drink. This time, 7 parts whiskey to 4 parts water. She was using glasses that she discreetly marked with measuring points, and she was confident that she was pouring to within a centiliter of precision. Slid the glass over to him. Try this one, she said. Still not it, said the man. It's a fine drink, though. I'll gladly finish it. Let me try it one more time, said Maddie. I assure you, this is a fine drink, said the gentleman. What I experienced in London was, I'm sure, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It would be completely unreasonable for me to expect you to replicate it here. Good enough drink is perfectly good enough. The way he'd said good enough made her even less willing to give up the fight. She grabbed the whiskey bottle and was about to begin pouring again when she felt a tap on her shoulder. Shay. Can I have a word with you? Said Shay. Shoot. In back, said Shay. Maddie followed Shay into the kitchen. You gotta stop trying to make the perfect water mix, said Shay. You're not cracking some code here. What that guy considers a perfect whiskey is not going to be some perfect formula that will work for everyone from here until the end of eternity. Different people have different tastes. I'm aware of that, said Maddie. Why won't you give it up? Because I want to give him the perfect drink, said Maddie. He already got the perfect drink in London 20 years ago. And every day that passes just makes the memory of that drink more and more unrealistically impressive. I know, said Maddie. That's why I have to make the perfect drink. I don't understand. Hey, that perfect drink in London 20 years ago, one he still remembers to this day as the best drink of his life. People are supposed to have memories like that about this place. This is where it's all supposed to come together. And that's why you can't back down? I can back down. I'll find it very hard to forgive myself if I do. Can I tell you a story? Said Shay. Is the story going to suck? I won't know until I tell it. That's a good reason to not tell it then, said Maddie, crossing her arms. I used to be a logger, said Shay. You work with lumber? You never told me. I did tell you that I worked a lot of odd jobs. And I figured that alone would be enough to communicate that I'm full of anecdotes on a very large variety of subjects, even after you've known me for many, many years. I've lived a lot longer than I've known you, so it's not like you could convey everything I've ever experienced in the time I've known you. Au contraire, said Maddie. Conversation allows you to compress experiences. You could compress an entire day into an answer to the question, so what did you do today? You're right, said Shay. I don't like reducing big experiences to short, pithy statements about what I've done. I already feel dirty about just saying I used to be a logger, because there's so much more to that experience than the job title. I'd like to tell you more about being a logger, if you let me. Alright, tell me about being a logger. I was a logger for 2 weeks back in... Wait, 2 weeks? You were a logger for 2 weeks? Sounded to me like you were a non-logger who engaged in logging activity for 2 weeks. Logger is a title. You have to earn that thing. Alright, point is I learned a thing or two about logging. A thing or two, and probably not much else if it was only 2 weeks. You're right. Luckily, I only need to tell you one thing. Oh boy. Hardly wait. What's the one worthwhile thing you learned about logging during those 2 weeks? When you're cutting away a tree, you actually have to cut away a lot of wood in order to weaken it enough to fell it, said Shay. That is, you're not merely cutting a gap in the tree, you're actually removing parts of a tree to weaken it. Yeah, I kind of figured, said Maddie. The way partially cut trees have a notch in them. The logger just has to keep making the notch bigger until the tree collapses. Is that your lesson? You're not acting like yourself, said Shay. On the contrary, said Maddie. I'm behaving exactly like myself, and that seems to bother you. Shay grimaced. You're right. We still play at being teacher and student? Maddie sighed and put her back against the wall, looking down. Yeah, alright. It was best to grin. And he gestured for him to go on. You were saying about cutting trees? Ah, right. You need to create a notch, but to create the notch, you're removing part of the tree. Taking a chip out of it. Uh-huh. Really easy to get caught up in that when it's happening. When chips are flying everywhere, the last thing you want to focus on is a big tree that's just standing still. You get a chip flying off somewhere and your eyes, and more importantly, your attention, naturally want to follow it to see where it lands. That's when you start to miss with your swings. The secret to logging is that you can't pay too much attention to the chips. Some of the chips are going to land at your feet, and some of them are going to fly off and harmlessly hit you in the chest. And others are going to disappear from your field of view. But you just have to focus on the tree. Focus on the impact you're making, not the trees. That's the secret of it. You need to focus on the big goal. Thank you for sharing the secret of logging with me, said Maddie. Though it can't be too well kept a secret if it's knowledge shared by people with only 2 weeks of experience. So is that it? Said Maddie. That's it, said Shay. There's a story about how you just have to let the chips fall where they may. Thanks for that bit of folksy wisdom, said Maddie. Saving the pretentious wisdom for another day. Very thin line between folksy and pretentious when you're acting like genius for having discovered the etymology of common idioms. That reminds me of a story about wire walking. I'm glad. Maybe I'll even hear that story someday. Stepped out of the kitchen before Shay could continue, and I returned to the counter. How's that whiskey? He asked. Best thing that happened to me all day, said the gentleman. You say that this glass of whiskey is the thing that made my day. Thanks, said Maddie. That's all I needed to hear. But does Maddie actually get the life lesson, or is she just trolling? But anyways, Inventions 2. Ashley's original ideas do not steal. Kitchen assistant. According to Maddie, the best way to chop hard ingredients like carrots or celery is to place the thing you are chopping near the point where the tip of the knife touches the board, since it gives you more leverage. Looked it up, and this is called a Class 2 lever, which gives you way more torque in cutting hard things. The mechanical advantage you get from a Class 2 lever can be increased by making the knife longer. It gave me the idea to make a knife that was 1 meter long. That would provide a much greater mechanical advantage than the knives Maddie uses, which are only 10 centimeters or 18 centimeters long. Maddie says I'm not allowed to use any knives that are longer than 18 centimeters, and said something about a weave katana, so that idea is a dead end. I didn't know what she meant by that, so I looked it up online and found some videos of guys using blades to cut things like water bottles. Apparently, the key to cutting is force and speed. Maddie doesn't want any blades longer than 18 centimeters, that means getting more force from leverage is out. But I could compensate for this by just making the blades really fast. I created Kitchen Assistant version 1, it uses a shortened knife, but it's affixed to a wheel that turns at 290 RPM, even with the blade attached. First time I turned it on, the blade wasn't completely secured and it flew off and embedded in the ceiling. Make sure this won't happen again. For version 2, I bolted the blade to the flywheel so that it won't come off. I think that Maddie will be really pleased with the result, because I only had to use a 10 centimeter blade. It was much smaller than the original blade size that she had a problem with. Also, when choosing which knife to weld onto the flywheel, I picked the knife that Maddie says is the best one. I think her personal bias will cause her to like my invention more, as opposed to using her favorite knife. Knife retriever. Kitchen Assistant V2 was a big success from testing with Kitchen Assistant V1. Left the knife embedded in the ceiling. I wouldn't be able to reach the knife by climbing on top of my stepladder. Probably reach it if I placed my stepladder on the countertop, but Maddie says that's dangerous. I wanted to find a way to retrieve the knife without breaking that rule. I think of making a giant magnet, but electromagnets require a lot of power. Last time I tried to draw a lot of power from the outlet, it tripped the circuit breakers. I've tried taping the circuit breakers in place so that they don't trip. Things catch on fire, and it's a lot harder to fix. Especially since hiding that kind of thing from Maddie requires so much effort. Gave me the smell of smoke covered while replacing breaker box. Like doing 2 jobs at once, and that's 2 jobs more than I want to do on a Saturday afternoon. The magnet is probably out, especially because I'm not sure if the knife is made out of ferromagnetic material. I don't know what Maddie's knives are made of, but if they're made out of aluminum, the magnet won't work. I have to try the electromagnet thing if I can't think of the plan before Maddie notices. Probably wouldn't like it. Good news is, the knife is firmly embedded in the wood, and compressive force on the knife is enough to prevent it from falling down due to gravity. That's a lot of vibration causes it to fall down, so very low probability of the knife falling down and hurting someone. The only thing that could disturb this is if it got humid and the wood around the knife started to warp. But the forecast said we're not getting any rain for the next few days, so I should have plenty of time to get the knife down before it's at risk of falling. Just as long as Maddie doesn't look up when she's standing behind that part of the counter, everything will be fine. Visibility reducer. To prevent Maddie from looking up and seeing the knife on the ceiling, I created a device to dissuade her from looking up. If you put a really high bright halogen lamp somewhere, it really makes people not want to look in that direction. I figured that if the knife had a halogen lamp next to it, anytime Maddie thought of looking up the ceiling, she would decide, no, I don't want to look up there because there's a bright halogen lamp that will probably blind me. I'll look down at the counter instead. Maybe she will look up at the light and then she'll be so disoriented by how bright it is that she won't see the knife on the ceiling. The LED on my headlamp will only go up to 50 lumens, and it takes 500 lumens to disorient a person. The problem is they couldn't figure out how to fix the halogen lamp to the ceiling. The same problem I had with retrieving the knife too high up. Then I realized it's a simple solution. You can get the halogen lamps up to the ceiling the same way I got the knife up there behind the kitchen assistant V1 and throw them. Halogen lamps aren't sharp enough to embed themselves in wood, so I had to apply a layer of fast-drying adhesive, covered by another layer of wood glue. The fast-drying adhesive will hold them there long enough for the wood glue to dry, and I will keep them from falling until I can figure out a way to get the knife down. My first attempt to use the kitchen assistant V1 to throw the halogen lamp at the ceiling did not go so well. I let go at the wrong time and instead pulling the lamp into the wall. It took me almost 5 minutes to clean up all the big pieces. There are a lot of pieces that I didn't have time to pick up, but they were so small. But they were small, so Maddie probably won't even notice them. If Shai notices them, he'll probably clean them up without saying anything. Second attempt, I got the kitchen assistant V1 to throw at the ceiling, but its velocity was too high, and when both hit the ceiling, it shattered instead of sticking. I lowered the RPM of the kitchen assistant V2, but after my 5th attempt, I realized I was out of halogen bulbs. I wonder if I can recycle the broken pieces for anything. Lamp bulbs seem like they would be very hard to reconstruct. Alright. Well then. I think it's everything out here. Is there something over here? Nope, probably not. But go and continue with the main story, finally. So last we left off, I think Kashan was trying to join the whatchamacallit, the Council of Death? Something like that. Oh yeah, and then Maddie went to get a delivery or something. 8:15 p.m. outside the terminal. Ugh. Don't have the energy for this. Wrong button. Maddie's been running on empty for several days now. Especially with everyone watching me. Hope we packed enough conductors. Order form was pretty vague. Be worrying about the conductors when I'm not even sure I can pull the whole thing off without some sort of major screw-up happening. I knew what I wanted the conductors for anyway, so we would have packed enough. Good supplier knows enough about the clients to anticipate their needs. There's a certain amount of noisiness that is polite, after all. He knows that I've got Ashley helping me. Helping you with what, Madeline? Frick off, Ned. Rude. You should respect your elders, you know? And is not a young man, human by the standards of semi-mortals. Listen to you. Council made you soft, didn't it? Oh, respect your elders. Follow our totally arbitrary rules or make some cheap reason to destroy your business. My name's Ned and I love rules. You done? Yep. Cool. Sound wounded. Steel chestplate can save you from a bleeding heart, but not a bruised ego. You should be nicer. Wow, sick comeback. What was it that guy you killed said? Oh Christ, I am shot! Oh no, woe is me! Just a little throwback humor for you. Did I strike a nerve? Did I just what? Maddie? When I spoke next, it was in a deep, dark cadence, steeped in guilt and self-loathing. Had he been able to see his eyes, she would have faced a withering glare. We're rapidly reaching a point of no return. I can no longer promise to shield you from the consequences of your actions. What you did just there, quoting one of my victims' dying words at me, that was low. Even for you. Frankly, I'm disgusted. Dare to poke in my guilt? You dare? Talk about guilt, shall we? I suppose you might have anything weighing on your conscience right now, would you? As I thought. They may still weigh heavily on me, but I'm absolved of my sins. The moral depths take a lifetime to work off. Ned's had more than a few lifetimes. I had 100 years to process that, and to redeem myself through my actions. You? Your sins are fresh. The lance marks on your soul, deep cuts in your aura. All your arrogance, novice. I know what you did. Many sins weigh heavily on Ned's mind, but even heavier on hers. Can't wait to see how you plan to make this right. Episode 5. Rainy Moods. Ooh boy. 8:30. Come on. Age 16. Is he smart? Not antisocial, just shy. Read a bunch of Wikipedia articles on optometry and considers himself somewhat of an expert. Hannah. Age 16. Well, she's too smart for her own good. Hobbies? People watching. Self-indulgent teenage angst. Taking advantage of the fact that she's too smart for her own good. I'm not sure that alcohol actually makes you feel anything. In fact, going by its chemical properties, I'd say it's the opposite. Shut up, dork. We're planning a heist. Metaphysical debates about alcohol come after. This isn't metaphysics. I'm just talking about some simple chemical interactions with their brains. Ron's the guy who has the look of someone who knows more about chemical interaction than human interaction. Please take the energy you're putting into pedantry, redirect it towards the plan. I'm too busy with physical shenanigans to have time for verbal shenanigans. Plan? The plan! What's the plan? Thinking you could just reach over the bar and grab the first bottle I see. Sounds risky. Very chaotic neutral. Oh my gosh, it's actually meant to be chaotic evil. Oh my gosh. Which one is chaotic neutral? Isn't that where I think Maddie is? Looks like where Maddie is. And what's your alignment then? Neutral good? Uh-huh. say it was awful neutral, but lawful neutral, but that's the coward's option. Yeah. But getting back to the plan. Oh. Using your own pedantry to distract you was absolutely part of the plan. Wow, so little faith in me. Gotta minimize the liabilities here. I'm still learning to trust this guy. He doesn't have the look of an interloper, but you can never be too safe. You're out here playing checkers while I'm playing six-dimensional upside-down laser chess. Oops. I've galaxy brained this, and now I'm holding the fruits of my labor. Don't you mean our labor? If you insist. Give me a closer look at that. What sort of fruit did we pluck from the booze tree? Really stretching that metaphor out, huh? Yep. I recognize the language on this label. What? Let me look. What the heck? Hmm? I don't recognize it either. Maybe it's a cipher. Cider is made from fermented apple juice. Cipher is made from fermented word juice. What make you read a cipher just to know what you're drinking? Sadist. Well, we could ask Maddie what it is. She's a sadist, right? What do you call someone who enjoys the empathetic pain they feel from hurting others? Yeah, that sounds great. Let's go find her then. Apart from the fact that we'd specifically nicked it from her. Oh, right. I meant to be the lawful one here, dude. We agreed on neutral good. Me not challenging your assertion does not make it an agreement. Regardless. Wait, hold on. Sense a dark presence. Do you feel it? No, I don't feel anything particularly spooky in the air. Yeah, me neither. Hi, Maddie. Hello, children. I see you're stooped to petty thievery. The bottles on that shelf are old enough that sweeping them would be an act of grand theft. Not this one, however. Alas, sprung. I can't believe my heist career is over so quickly. Oh, don't give up on your dreams, kid. Speaking of, you know what happens when you drink this? I was assuming some sort of drunkenness. Make your teeth fall out? The last time I had a shot of this, I woke up in Adelaide. Wow, so there was 700 kilometers worth of drunkenness and bad decisions. I woke up 6 hours before I took the shot. I had to drive a rented car back and explain to Shay why I disappeared without a trace and somehow accidentally time traveled. Spitz, can we give it a try? God, no. You ever heard of liquor licensing laws? I'd end up in jail. I think it'd be an excellent formative experience. Yeah, if you're not perpetuating teen drinking culture, you're a loser. Somehow I remained unconvinced by your passionate arguments. Well, we tried. You just have way too much time on your hands, you know that? Apparently not having enough, right? I'm utilizing my time to practice my skills. It's not wasted. Well, the non-existent industry sector that relies solely on the skill of reaching over bars and stealing bottles of enchanted booze is gonna be lucky to have you. Oh, that's so validating. Thanks. Can I get you two a coffee or anything? Hot chocolate? Kinda busy tonight, but hoping that bribing you with free drinks will stop you from picking my stuff. I'll take a free drink. I feel guilty taking one since it was all Fawn's idea. Hey. I'll graciously accept your offer. Hey, what'll it be? Hot chocolates for both of us? Hot chocolates for both of us. Alrighty, two hot chocolates coming up. Seriously, don't steal anything else when my back's turned, or I'll feed you to a spite elemental. I wonder. Spite elemental. Maybe it's a metaphor. You're saying that she'll lead us? She the spite elemental? Oh no. Maybe the real spider elementals were the friends we made along the way. I hate this. Fair. Oh, hello. Samantha, age 32, American, visiting Melbourne for work. Devastatingly patient. Trust me, you kids don't want to meet a spider elemental. Have you? Yup. I'm fairly close to not making it out alive. You're in a fairly exciting line of work then. Wait. Hold on. Exciting line of work? A woman's line of work might seem intriguing to someone looking in from the outside, but to her, it's all business. It gets that way sometimes. Spy elementals aren't exactly exciting. They're terrifying. They call the air out of a room and make the world ache. They don't die easy. Huh. Kinda metal. You're gonna need brass balls to face one down, that's for sure. And steely gaze? What? His seal's metal and it was metal, and then you mentioned brass balls, so Hannah, please back me up. Nope, you brought this on yourself, mate. Oh. Nah, she's totally right. Ugh. What's going on here? Are you bullying my customers, Samantha? Of course not. Good, because that's my job. You should go enjoy the evening. Nice breeze blowing. You remember my name. That's sweet. Sweet isn't a word that people often use to describe Patty. It's kind of a remark that says more about the person who's talking than the person they're talking about. Of course I did. You're interesting. Doesn't that describe everyone who walks through your doors, though? Absolutely not. Especially not in the way that you are. Some people would take offense at that. Your boss must be very different to mine. Well, my old boss, I guess. I'm my own boss now, actually. I think she can make it all on her own. It just turned out to be right. Apologies, your approach to hospitality work is very different from what I'm used to, is what I'm saying. Figures, where'd you work? Some dive bar overseas. Watched hive of scum and villainy. The owner would never shut up about treating every client like royalty. It's like a pain in the butt if you ask me. Not asking, actually, but I appreciate the sentiment nonetheless. So, can I get you anything? Surprise me. You'd like me to pick you something? Yeah. And if I ask you a couple questions? Are they related to the drink? Yep. Shoot. Okay. What's your favorite white wine? You're not making me a wine cocktail, are you? No. Push to a glass of Marsanne every now and then. Fancy. Next question. Have you ever read a star chart? Like an astrology? No. Why? I don't put any stock in mysticism. Hey, this place isn't mystical. Some people this place seems otherworldly, for others this is just the world they live in. But out of cold hard facts. Don't know them all yet. Alright, fair enough. Last question. You're walking in the shallows of an ocean that seems to go on into the distance forever. Can't see any land aside from the sand under your feet. Whenever you step forward, the sand sinks just a little bit. As you can see, no way to escape. Drowning is the only possible outcome. What do? Wow, I feel like you're about to pull out a Voight comp? How do you say that? Voight? Maybe Voight. Voight comp machine or something. That was just some sort of test. I run, I swim, I dive when I can. If I eventually drown, so be it. Nowhere else to go, and no point sitting and waiting for starvation or sharks to come save me. I have to take action. Interesting. What's the verdict? And they didn't get a response. May's eyes glazed over as soon as she answered the last question. Now she stood perfectly still, gazing intensely at the rows and rows of dusty bottles lining dustier shelves. Lips moved, but no words came out. As Samantha watched, the flask of red liquid twitched, seemingly of its own accord. Annie craned her neck up at it and scowled. The response, a smaller bottle, next to the first, and surely only big enough to hold a few drops of something, began to glow. Her scowls shifted to a wry smile. Please, you don't need to help in anything new on my account. Gotcha. Your answers were interesting. Coming from some people, that might sound like a non-committal remark, but coming on Maddie, it might be the most effusive praise you'll all forget. Don't worry your questions. Still having a little trouble figuring out how they relate to each other, though. Is that not important? Try to maintain a vague hope that maybe one day things might make sense. Until then, just try to go with the flow, of course. I'm never trying to psychoanalyze you there. Try? You think you failed? No. What's the verdict then? For one, you tend to accept things as you see them. You don't try to interpret things based off of unrelated frameworks or thought patterns. That said, you do try and make sense of the connections between things when you can. Annie's pretty sure she has all the pieces. Found out that putting all the pieces together requires a bit more effort. No big deal to you if you don't. Just mark it as an unknown variable and move on. That reads to me as an intensely pragmatic approach. Would you agree? I suppose. You're the sort who doesn't buy drinks to enjoy them. You buy them as camouflage. Your experience with pretending to be something you're not in order to blend in, you might develop a talent for recognizing when others are trying to do the same. Hide your face behind. Project a veneer of being untouchable while you watch. Watch what? Everything, I suppose. Take everything the same way I do. You're saying that I'm attentive, but I don't worry about instantly understanding how things are interconnected. Because you're confident that eventually you'll understand it anyway. How do you figure that? You've been watching my hands this whole time. Is that weird? Watch an attractive bartender mixing a very fancy looking cocktail? Appreciate a craft? No. But given how just how interested you are in what my hands are doing, I arrange that you've got some experience in my field. So, are you just really bad at picking up on when you're being flirted with, or...? Lesbian? Yes. It's fine, sweetie. In fact, it's pretty cute. I meant in alchemy. The field of alchemy. You're very accomplished in alchemy. Just take the drink. Man, this is really good. Yeah? Too good to ignore, yeah. Milky, but bittersweet. And this contrast with the bitters that really makes you appreciate the sweetness. Or is it the other way around? Both days I feel like I'm reaching the end of something. I've got a lump in my throat from saying goodbye. Can't quite tap into that feeling. Like, what did you even put in this? Mezcal? Artichoke bitters? Old heart bitters? A slice of gorilla lime. Gorilla lime? Can't be a real thing. Just hard to acquire. Called that because if you bite into one, it feels like you got punched by a gorilla. Physically? No, emotionally. Ah, makes sense. I am not a wizard! Prove it. Ugh. That guy the boss you mentioned? Yeah. Be good to you. I'm sorry? Does he treat you well? Yeah. Your fault, actually. Far past the point where it's rational for him to still be nice to me. No one's ever accused old Shay of being rational. Doesn't stop him from trying to be the voice of reason. Good. Actually, I'm sorry, that reminds me. I have to dash. Got some setup work for a project to finish before the sun comes up. Annie really engages in careless shenanigans, so when she's up to something, you'd best be on your guard. Without you here, who will enable my latent alcoholism? You just reach over the bar and grab the gin. Tommy's in the bar fridge. Will do. Come back soon, though. Love to discuss alchemy with you some more. Uh-huh. Catch you later. Wait, one last thing. What was the meaning behind the question about what wine I like? Oh, I was just curious. They got a thing going on? That's the last one, I reckon. Does it have the magic caps in it? Think so? You can just call them caps, you know. They go for something different. I refuse to use non-specific language. Uh-huh. Yeah, they're in here. Hey, what about the, thing? You have to be a little more... Oh, you know. The thing. Sparky thing. Ashley likes having friends who can understand her even when she fails to be specific. Electric. Lady, how long have you been awake? It's better for you if you don't know, I think. You mean the voltage regulator? That's the one! Good job! And one of the other boxes. Didn't think we needed another one, though. Are you kidding? Last one literally melted. It's a good thing I have an extremely sick metal arm, otherwise I would have been badly injured. Just prosthetic arm is a point of pride. She wouldn't trade for anything, not even the arm that it replaced. Yeah, thank goodness. Is there anything missing? I shall check. Need some espresso? I think I would literally die if I had any more. Hey, that's really mature of you. Nice job. Yeah, whatever. You can get me some chocolate if you want. Which I'll show you that chocolate has trace amount of caffeine. Because it's not more espresso. Sure thing. Be back in a moment. Oh, hey, dude, where you been? Hey, just chillin'. Not much to do when you're waiting to die. Hey, come on, Cooper. I know you're hiding down there somewhere. Oh, milk jug. Hold this, will ya? What's Ashley planning? Did Ned really say that? Yeah. Do you believe it? Not sure. Well, it's not a lie. But not the whole truth either. And I don't quite have the time to entangle it for you. I is the sort of person that weaves tangled webs without too much consideration for who's going to have to untangle them. Got a 100 teenager downstairs and summoning ritual to complete. She's part of this too. Now you take that judgy tone with me. Hey, far be it from me to moralize at you. Getting a lot of that these days, mate. Just trying to keep everyone happy. Tough gig. I'll say. Alright, now if you can solder these two wires. No, not those ones! Holy heck. Who programmed you? she's a jerk. Incredibly intelligent, but a very bad programmer. Ashley has learned how to program exactly the minimum amount she needs to, and not 1 iota more. You're talking about yourself, right? What? Wow. You're really out of it, huh? Where do you even pull this from? Leg holster. Alright, wearing a leg holster. Arm holster. Your prosthetic? It holds 6 million knives. Don't question me on this. I'm an expert here. Hey, new hand? Dude, you should check yourself before you freaking wreck yourself. No, that's not what I meant. Oh. Yeah, I guess you can help. Before I ask what you need, what are you even doing? I mentioned a summoning circle? Eh, something like that. Ever wanting to live forever? You're there for just having a second chance, honestly. Well, give me that box, please. Just leave me hanging like that. Watch me. While you watch me leave you hanging, you can go get the box. Thank you. Yeah, so, this is really heavy. What's even in here? 100 meters of heavy gauge gauge? 100 meters of heavy gauge copper cable. In a basement full of magical items, this copper wire might be the thing most in danger of being stolen. Maybe you to flip at least. Bunch of capacitors I'm going to wire together soon. Lots of various bits and bobs. That would definitely explain the weight. Oh, there's also a bunch of clamps. What do you need? Validation. Chocolate. Coffee. School system that doesn't punish me for having weird and niche interests. I meant more, happiness. She's a real party girl. I don't think I can get you communism, sorry. Isn't Maddie already getting you chocolate? You're a terrible comrade, Kishan. If I wasn't close to hitting the LD50 of caffeine, I'd ask you for some coffee. All you can do right now is give me that sweet, sweet validation. Okay, your real thumbs up? Good human? I know what sort of validation you want here. I feel like I'm stuck in a loop of trying things that are inevitably going to fail, and I don't know how much of it is my fault for not being good enough in a monumentally difficult task. Being effortlessly good at things. But I feel like my brain is full of bees on this one. And can I deal with failure? I don't think I can. Not equipped for failure. My entire perception of myself is that I'm good at things. I'm gifted and talented and incredibly afraid that I'm gonna let people down at a vital moment. This is that vital moment. I just sit here, paralyzed. I actually know that a lot of this pressure is just me being hard on myself. But Maddie and we tried this already. We failed pretty badly. It was a disaster. For actually of all people to call something a disaster, must have been a real catastrophe. I can understand how badly it turned out. Even with all the prep I'm doing, is this enough? Did we learn enough to do it properly? Numbers and formulas and hard science are good, but I can't shake this feeling that I screw it up for everyone. So afraid of laying Maddie down. There are a few things we fear more than disappointing the people we love most. That's heavy as heck, mate. You reckon? Fully, yeah. I don't know what to say to that except that I don't think Maddie would ever feel let down by you. I've only been here for like 2 days, but her and Shay seem to really care about you. I'm sure that extends to accepting you for who you are, limitations and all. Though honestly, I think you give off a pretty strong vibe not giving a dang about your limitations. that you indiscriminately power through them with some sort of raw, caffeine-fueled fury. Anyway, you're immensely powerful, and I'm terrified of you. Fair enough. Never really super smart or gifted or anything. Sometimes people who think they're not gifted were just never made aware of their gifts. Just float through school and work and never focused on much except having a good time. I definitely imagine the sort of pressure you'd have on you, though. Given how big this task is. Yeah. So I can't say for sure that this is going to be easy or even successful. I think it's important that you work on giving yourself a break from the weight of your own expectations. In the terminal, it can feel like nothing is easy. Even Sunday mornings come with their own set of trials and tribulations. But it's not an easy thing, I'm sure. But my boyfriend is similar. He's very hard on himself when he feels like he's letting himself down. So it doesn't go away? I don't think so. I think it gets easier to deal with as you learn to be more empathetic to yourself. Self-forgiveness and all that. It's often hardest to forgive someone when you're aware of all their flaws. It definitely took him a good few years to even begin to be able to deal with his self-imposed shame. I guess I can try that? You can try that. You can continue feeling super bad about yourself all the time. I mean, when you put it like that... Right? I hate how rational you sound. I know. I'm disgusted at myself. What's up, nerds? What's going on in this thread? What? You're suddenly in a good mood? Maybe ate some of your chocolate? Maybe Maddie ate some chocolate? Maybe grass is green. I swear, if there isn't any left... Yes, we've been over this before. You'll completely comprehensively murderize me. You'd hate if someone failed to be comprehensive when they went about murderizing you. Seen some incomplete murderizing attempts, and they ain't pretty. Don't worry, I only ate a little bit. Excellent. Is this enchanted chocolate or just normal chocolate? What about unenchanted dark chocolate? Where does that fall on the normal abnormal chocolate spectrum? Does that say Ashley's? That one's cool. Does he deserve to know? No. I like the mystery. It's completely normal chocolate, isn't it? Maybe. Maybe not. Can I have some then? Come on, you owe me. What? Helping you set up all this? Oh yeah, that's fair. This is totally normal chocolate. Yeah? You expect it to not be that? Well, you implied. We never implied. Just came up with that one all on your own. Dang it. Alright, I'm bored. Later, dorks. Don't you run off of me, miss. Magic Hat Bank isn't even half done. Do it later. Now I'm gonna take a nap under that table. If anyone disturbs me, come on. You'll be happy, confused, ticklish, extra hungry. I will mention me in your diary. Maya doesn't keep a diary. All those thoughts and memories just stay cooped up in her head. One day she's going to run out of space. Or sanity. I will exact terrible revenge on both of you later. Because that phrase definitely doesn't start with an M. Bye. Just rolls over. Not being too hard on her, am I? You? Nah, she thinks we're great. Good. I could probably stand to give her a break, though. I mean, I'm expecting a lot from her right now. Does seem a little overloaded. Frick. But she'd tell me if things were too much, right? No. Seems like she idolizes you. Idolatry's a sin, isn't it? Can't be healthy behavior. I reckon she probably pretty happily burned herself out for you, you know? I just need it for the next 4 or 5 hours, then everything will be okay. Is that when you're planning on performing the ritual? This thing? Yeah. What's it for, anyway? Conduit ritual. Super forbidden magic. Oh. Cool. You're actually cool with this, or... Not hugely, actually. Why's that? Well, you know, I was talking to Ned earlier and... Actually, don't worry about it. It's fine, I don't care. What's it do? You know how I took a couple hours from you down here? Vividly? This is the bigger scale version of that spell. Higher capacity. Who are you taking hours from? Nobody. Don't worry, bud. You're at a deficit already. When you get deep enough into the hole, you kind of stop worrying about climbing out of it and just accept your fate. I can't touch you. Right, okay. And if you're lying right now, shouldn't you have taken enough to pay off your debt multiple times at this point? Yeah, hours weren't for that. What did you do with them then? Where'd they go? For research, use the following materials. Ore of copper, heavily drawn. Jasmine chalk, not Dover. Sustained electric supply of at least 20 volts. Car battery? Capacitor is composed of blank. Need better durability. However, we believe extra components are required. The conduit's properties varied with the layout of our summoning circle. Despite the departure of our test subjects during our trials, we were able to ascertain a number of efficiently oriented refinements. Certain kinds of optimization require real dedication to craft, as well as the absolutely necessity of living but non-sentient vessel to act as a so-called storage container. More testing is required, though obtaining a willing subject for future methodology evaluations attracting the attention of the council will be difficult, to say the least. Stored them. Oh, all those hours ended up here. Or in the tree. Whatever it is. Whatever it said. I think it said in the tree. Which would explain why it glows blue. They gave the hours to the tree? Alright. I miss eating. Why? What was your diet like? I remember... sushi? Sushi? I thought you said you were a crab. What, you think crabs aren't dexterous enough to make sushi? Questionably, yes. What is this sushi? It's delicious is what it is. Rice and fish and seaweed. Humans eat it. And crabs. I just don't know where a crab can find rice. Or a way to make good sushi. I also ate garbage. Yes, I also ate garbage on occasion. Unbelievable, you two. Unbelievable. Who bets that they were actually like a raccoon or something? Garbage is good for the soul. Garbage is garbage. It's in the name. What did you eat when you were alive then? Grass. Just normal grass. Boring. And tree roots sometimes. There are tree roots here, yes? Yeah, there are. Why don't you chop on them? I'm not hungry. We don't eat. Also, more importantly, they are powerfully magical. Maddie needs them. The damage thing that Maddie needs, and Ashley will be disappointed in us. The self-optimal state of affairs. Feel the power in them too. However, I do not feel compelled to chomp on them. What a strange thought. Love to chomp. Chomp sushi, chomp sandwiches, chomp garbage. You're so weird. I believe that's another chapter down. Make your creator proud. Oh, now we're in the workshop. Speak to Samantha to experience the side story Devil's Den. Alright. Let's see, we have this one. Act 2. Alright, so we're getting pretty close, but it might take a couple more streams for us to get through everything. Go ahead and... I can do this sometime later, but... How do I go back? How do I... Can I like read it and then go out? No. How do I leave? Hello? Well, I wanted to go see the side stories first, but guess we're not doing that right now. See something down there. Up. And the sign. Start with the sign. Letter from Sophie Cordova. My dear Maddie, thank you for getting in touch with me. Perhaps I should say congratulations. I make such a point of making myself hard to find that it's always surprising to hear from anyone. Sometimes find myself fearing the day when I'll be contacted by someone who isn't a fan of mine, who is more interested in locking me away than seeking my advice. One might think that people are interested in putting me away would be more capable in possession of more resources. Those like yourself who simply possess curiosity, and yet it's always the latter who manage to break through the veil I've erected between myself and the outside world. It's first in over 3 years to manage this, and so it is now time for me to find another hiding place. If the next letter manages to find me, I'll truly have something to worry about. Looking for a solution to the problem you outlined in your letter? I'm afraid I must disappoint you. My business is that of teaching people how to ask the right questions, so that they can find the answers themselves, not giving the answers. After all, the most worthwhile answers are the ones I haven't found yet. That being said, your question about time transference is an issue of special interest to me. The idea of storing vitality in a living, non-sentient creature such as a plant is one that I've long considered. It has always been one of retrieval. If you did find a way to transfer vitality from a plant into a sentient creature, it would result in a tremendous discharge of energy. A great discharge that I'm sure would kill whatever subject was on the receiving end. Storing life force from something doesn't seem that it would do you much good if it kills you in the process. Consequently, I've never experimented with this process myself. Even if I have earned a reputation for being a rule breaker, there are certain things that are simply off limits. The idea of using a non-living soul as a target for transference is an interesting one. No risk of killing the vitality recipient if it's already dead. Of course, that would require finding a way to infuse a non-living soul with vitality in the first place. And that most reanimation techniques involve a significant discharge of energy, and the vitality transfer as a trigger would effectively be killing two birds with one stone. Of course, reanimation is a far cry from necromancy. If your only problem is one of living on borrowed time, well, know better than I do how to resolve the particulars. I'm an alchemist, not a necromancer. If I can offer you one piece of advice, these kinds of vitality transfers are not something to be experimented with. Anytime that time is borrowed or lent, you are making an alteration to a ledger that the powers that be keep a very careful eye on. And the smallest of disturbances is enough to attract their notice. And attracting their notice will put a quick end to any research you might be in the midst of. If you're going to try a vitality transference, don't experiment. Go straight for the end goal. If you want to catch the attention of those whose attention you do not want, make sure that the endeavor is worthwhile. If you have a good reputation, it would be a shame to squander it on something so trivial as allowing a mouse the extra seconds on the side of mortality. As I say, go big or go home. Appreciate you taking the time to write to me. New things to pontificate on? Yeah, sure. And perhaps one day you may see the results of that pontification in one of my future volumes. Of course, it should go without saying that you won't be able to reach me again, at least not the same way you did before. I've been found, and that means I need to do a better job of covering my tracks. I rationally hope that I'll never find myself in a position where a fan's letter finds me, though it's part of me that hopes that one day that one of my readers will manage to track me down. Who knows? Perhaps the next letter I receive in my next residence will come from you. Sure that you have better things to do with your time than try to track me down. It's time to adopt the posture of a student and focus on learning, but it's obvious to me that you are someone who has spent plenty of time learning things and are ready to do things. To do things, Maddie. Do big things. Do dangerous things. Do things that break the rules. Not all rules need to be broken, but if you're smart enough to find me, you're smart enough to know which rules are worth breaking. Grateful that's always the reader mail that seems to find me, and never the demands to appear before some kind of tribunal or committee. Just think that this was a long string of extremely good luck on my part. Over time, I've come to realize that those who wish me gone lack the insight of people who earnestly read my work. You such as yourself are the only ones who truly know me well enough to understand how I think and where I would hide. Bravo, Maddie. You demonstrated your ability to think like me. You must learn to think like yourself. Yours truly, Vivi Cordova. Hey, that's the person that wrote the book. Oh yeah, now I'm able to open the door, of course. Need to read through the entire thing. Get some more, like, lore-heavy stuff is probably important. I guess since I already started, I might as well finish up with whatever's in here. Samantha sat alone at the bar, taking occasional sips from a glass of gin. I wasn't sure that tonight was a night she really wanted to be drinking, but the comforting familiarity of the gin kept her raising the glass to her lips. Drinking sat well in her stomach, but each sip left her feeling warm, and each sip the knot in her stomach seemed to become less and less noticeable. And so, kept drinking. Green Bottle had become something of a friend over the years, and with it she shared the kind of friendship born not out of any sort of affection, so much as one of familiarity and convenience. During the Tanqueray, Neat took her back to the first apartment she'd lived in after moving from her hometown in New Mexico, parts of Melbourne that bordered the docks. An apartment where she discovered that liquor was vastly cheaper when bought by the bottle than when bought by the glass in the setting of a bar. Where she learned that cinnamon and coriander give the gin enough flavor without the need for mixers. Tanqueray was her coming-of-age drink, and consequently she enjoyed a private relationship with it. Most of the alcohol she consumed in the past year had been on the job, but gin was something that she kept hidden away at home. There were moments when it was only her, a Green Bottle, and an overwhelming sense of dread. Samantha emptied the glass and, for a moment, continued to hold the empty glass up to her mouth, looking down at her nose at the bottom of the glass, as if asking God for a sign that this was the time to stop drinking. No intention of stopping, but figured it was worth giving the everlasting a chance to interdict. He was transgressing by drinking so heavily. Never heard that word before. Interdict. No divine intervention came to stop her from raising her hand to signal Maddie for another drink. A small throbbing inside her ears seemed to think it was a bad idea, but he was sure that was the result of hearing damage and not the voice of God ringing in her ears. I was fairly sure that she didn't believe in God, but something about her Catholic upbringing kept her occasionally checking in, just to confirm that her suspicions that were there wasn't anyone upstairs judging her on hedonism. Still, if there was any time or place to question her lack of belief in God, a cafe that seemed to exist in the borderland between life and death seemed as good a place as any to do it. They told her that it was only by the grace of God that she walked the earth. If it wasn't a force of God that kept this cafe's doors open, it was certainly something otherworldly. Oh, pretty short. What even is Tanqueray? I mean, of course it's like alcohol, but I've never heard of Tanqueray before. I'm gonna make sure there's nothing up top. There's the large tool board, but was this one something down under? Oh, and I want to show you something. For a moment, Tuan thought of grabbing Hannah by the hand to lead her, but couldn't bring himself to do it. Something about the idea of holding her hand seemed simultaneously too childish and too intimate for him to try this early in the night. "Oh, where are you taking me?" said Hannah. "Someplace cool," said Tuan. Located a ladder heading down from the lower level and gestured to it. "After you." "Now you're asking me to be the first one to jump into the gaping maw of whatever monsters might be lurking down there." I shook her head ruefully. "Where have all the gentlemen gone?" Tuan smirked. "I think a gentleman might say, 'Ladies first.' And I think a lady might say, 'I'll stand quietly behind while you deal with this street ruffian.' Go ahead, bear face first into danger. I'll follow behind." "Well," said Tuan, "technically I'm going feet first, you know, going down vertically and all that. It is actually the last part of me that will be arriving on the lower level. Are we going to keep standing here bantering, or are you going to show me whatever's down there?" "You seemed enthused by the idea only a few moments ago." "Guess I just got distracted by your cattiness." And I got on the ladder on top of Tuan. "Don't look up. Trust me, you won't get the show you're expecting if you do." "Fine." Tuan descended the ladder, keeping his games silently normal. Arriving on the level below, he studied his feet until Hannah landed beside him. Hannah joined him in studying his feet. "Oh, please, don't tell me you're one of those freaks who's obsessed with his sneakers." "Nah," said Tuan. "This kind who finds the sight of his own shoelaces a safe distraction for whatever he's trying to avoid looking at." "Oh, good." "Hear about the brawl in Darwin?" "No." "Well, it was actually Darwin, California. You know, these international news sites are always trying to sucker me into reading stories about what's happening in America. Anyways, nobody was hospitalized, but several kids walked away from that store with black eyes to show their friends. I can understand that collectibles are a big deal, but come on, we live in a society. I don't think I'll ever understand sneakerheads." "Wait, that's actually a thing?" said Tuan. "Yeah. You didn't know about it? It's really big with hip youngsters. Because they don't pay very close attention to the behavior of hip youngsters." "That was evident from the moment I laid eyes on you," said Hannah. "You seem adventurous enough. Maybe one day you'll encounter one of them. On that note, what are we here to see?" Tuan led Hannah to one of the portholes of the room they were in. "Look at this." "Whoa, that is indeed a porthole." "No, I mean what's on the other side." "Yep," said Hannah. There certainly is water on the other side of that porthole." "Hold on," said Tuan. "It's supposed to be he trailed off." "A what?" "I don't want to spoil the surprise," said Tuan. "Well, you effectively replaced my awe and wonder of seeing the sea through a porthole in the basement of a Melbourne cafe with a feeling of disappointment of not seeing whatever it is I'm supposed to be seeing." Tuan checked several of the other portholes. "This is weird. It's usually sound of something landing behind them," caused Tuan and him to spin around to face the ladder they just climbed down. Phyllis Windhill stood up from a crouching stance and dusted herself off. Did you just jump down? Which one? Yep, said the girl. It's only 10 meters. I think that we wasted our time climbing down that ladder like schmucks, said Hannah. So, Tuan stood going at the girl for a few moments. Sorry, I don't remember your name. I'm Ashley, said the girl. I guess turnabout is fair play, because I don't remember your name either. Tuan. And I'm Hannah. Do you know each other? Hannah said Tuan as she pointed at Ashley. Yes, we know each other so well that we greet each other by asking each other what our names are. That's a great greeting ritual, said Hannah. You should try to popularize it. You know, normalize introducing yourself by name, even the people you met before. You would have some people from a lot of awkwardness. Not everyone is good with names, you know. That's a great idea, said Ashley. I'm going to start doing that. And shot a glance at Tuan, and he grinned. What are you doing down here? Said Hannah. Here to get us out? Is this a no-patron zone? No, it's no problem, said the girl. I was eavesdropping. Tuan's eyes widened, and he looked at Hannah. Hannah seemed to be more amused than upset at Ashley's appearance. And, said Ashley, it sounded like you weren't seeing what you wanted to be seeing, so I thought I'd come down and take you lower. Oh, where am I being taken now? 1,000 fathoms is where things start to get interesting, said Ashley. How much is 1,000 fathoms? It's about 1,800 meters, said Tuan. Sounds like a lot of climbing, said Hannah. Guess I should have brought better ladder climbing shoes. Sounds like the lament of a non-sneakerhead, said Tuan. Oh, no need to climb, said Ashley. Just hang on a sec. She walked up to a panel with several mechanical levers, and after several moments, the water outside of the porthole began changing hue. What was that? Said Hannah. Swordfish. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was a sailfish, said Tuan. Pretty sure you made that up, said Hannah. No, really, they're marlin. They have a long bill like a swordfish. They also have a broad, erect dorsal fin. If you had left the word erect out of that sentence, I might have believed you, said Hannah. No, he's probably right, said Ashley. Came down here with the marine biology books. A huge nerd, so I definitely trust his word over mine. Well, I'm glad that's settled. Part about you being a nerd, I mean. The sailfish with an erect dorsal fin still sounds kind of sketchy to me. Eventually, the room stopped descending, and Hannah looked outside the porthole. Now I see what you were excited about. A lot of stuff going on down here. Hey, nerd boy, what's this one called? Tuan tried to follow Hannah's pointing finger. Which one are you pointing at? A shark-looking thing. Looks like it's as big as a whale. Oh, that's a whale shark. See? Knew you were just making up names. No, that one's right. It's one of the few ones I know because it's so easy to remember. It's a cross between a whale and a shark. Whale shark. So, this is the level of the ocean where interspecies romance happens? There isn't actually any whale DNA in a whale shark, said Tuan. It just has that name because of its size. Largest known species of fish. Hannah shook her head. First it was a whale shark, then it's just a shark, and now it's fish. Well, the thing you need to know about making stuff up is that you need to stick to one version of the story. Sharks are fish. You didn't know that? They have gills. I'm kind of surprised you didn't know. I don't think you're the one who should be surprised by any of this, said Hannah. Everything you've shown me down here is thoroughly weird. Me not knowing what sharks are fish is very normal to me. Hey, Ashley, you know that sharks are fish? Nope, said Ashley. This is my first time hearing it too. Must be another made-up fun fact about marine biology. Tuan shrugged his shoulders. I guess so. Just as I'm just really creative and good at making up so-called facts. Or about me being a nerd who spends all his time studying marine biology must be a lie. No, I still believe that part. Me too, said Ashley. The trio stood for a few moments, wavering between looking out the porthole and looking at each other. The awkwardness hit just a few seconds before Ashley spoke up. Anyway, I figured this is where you wanted to hang out, so here you go, 2,000 fathoms. Give me a holler if you want to go deeper. Ashley walked to the ladder and disappeared through the hole in the ceiling. Alright. Oh, is it like not the actual ocean? It's just like a projection or something? I mean, that would probably make sense. Ashley's inventions too. Let's do Fate of Icarus first. First thing Shane noticed when he entered Ashley's workshop was that her workbench was not in its usual place. It had been pushed up against the wall. The second thing he noticed was that Ashley was sitting on the bench, her back slumped against the wall, evidently still feeling the effects of a caffeine crash. "Hey," said Ashley, but her eyes didn't move up to meet his. It wasn't like Ashley. She usually greeted people with her eyes before greeting them with her voice. "Hey kiddo," said Shay. "You doing okay?" "I am okay. If feeling tired and achy and yet somehow unable to rest is okay," said Ashley. "I'm still amped up, but I'm unable to do anything productive." "Why do I feel like this, Shay? Is this my life now? Am I going to be okay?" Shay stepped up to Ashley's workbench and seated himself next to her. "I tell you to relax, but it sounds like you're already trying and failing. Or maybe it's okay to be amped up and also tired?" "I'm the worst," said Ashley. "Be tired, but also incapable of resting?" Shay smirked. Or smiled. Tired, but also incapable of resting, described how he felt on most days. It had become such a familiar part of his condition that he forgot what it was like to be young. And to have this kind of feeling, kind of energy that Ashley always seemed to be brewing with. "I think you'll have to get used to that, kiddo," said Shay. "I think you're just getting an early taste of what being an adult was like." "It's not reassuring at all. I feel like this every day. You came here to comfort me. You're doing a terrible job." Shay frowned. He always considered himself a good teacher, but he'd come to learn that mentoring someone required skills beyond simply teaching them a skill. When it came to comforting people in times of crisis, he always seemed to manage to find the right words, but on day-to-day matters, however... "Well," said Shay, "I think I spent a lot of days feeling how you feel right now, but luckily, this will pass for you. And look at it this way. You learned something today, didn't you?" "Yes," said Ashley. "Honey's in possession of powerful potions that can yield devastating effects, and she disguises them under innocent-sounding names like espresso." They nodded, more not prompting her to continue than to display approval. "But also you have terrible bedside manner." "Oh, but you weren't forced to drink the coffee, were you?" "No, I did that to myself." "Is that what you wanted me to say?" "You were right, Shay. I tried something new for the first time, and now I get to spend the rest of my life regretting it." "Probably a few hours," said Shay. "Pretty sure the regret will wear off as soon as you recover from this caffeine crash. After that, hopefully it will be coded in the part of your brain that hesitates just a little bit when tempted to ask for a third or fourth espresso shot." Ashley continued looking straight ahead. "What remains? Learn new things can be hazardous to your health. Actions have consequences, and the consequences can feel real bad." She opened her mouth and made a noise that was halfway between a gasp and a yawn, like someone who had too much carbon dioxide in the bloodstream and didn't know how to correct that problem without making a face that resembled a fish. "Thanks for the lesson, Shay. I'm never going to try ingesting anything new ever again." Shay frowned again and tried his best to course correct back to something that resembled a useful lesson. "It's nice and all, but I don't think that avoiding new and novel drinks is going to protect you from ever encountering harm again." "Right, which is why I'm not limiting it to drinks," said Ashley. "No new foods. I've got a decent enough palate anyway. I'm good sticking to the same dozen or so meals for the rest of my life." They looked at Ashley and hesitated for a moment, unsure what words of wisdom he could impart to the girl. He was pretty sure that words weren't the only way to get someone out of the slump. "Ashley, stand up." Stood up himself, the fear of looking unwilling to follow his own advice. "Why?" said Ashley. "Because you can." "I can't." "One more reason to stand up." "You're to stand up to prove that you can. And if you can't, well, it's good to know too." Ashley groaned and twisted that she was lying down on the workbench. She was about to object, but then she started rolling off the workbench and plopped onto the floor. "Ouch." Shay watched Ashley, not reaching down to offer her a hand. Capable of saying ouch, she was capable of asking for help if she needed it. Stopping for moments later, Ashley lifted herself off the floor and shuffled backwards until she was leaning against the wall next to her workbench. "See? Thought you couldn't stand, but you can." "Pray for me, I'm overjoyed," she said, in a tone that was clearly far from overjoyed. "You can sit down if you'd like to," said Shay, saying that standing was actually a non-trivial feat for Ashley at this moment. Got back onto the workbench, but this time sat perched at the edge with her legs hanging over the edge, rather than slumped back with her back against the wall like she had been when he first walked in. That was a good sign. I don't want one bad experience to kill your sense of adventure, said Shay. Where my sense of adventure has gotten me, Shay. I flew too close to the sun, and now that I'm on the surface of the sun, lights are all bright and I feel hot and tingly all over, and I'm tired and it's like summer all the time, and I really don't like it. I'm just like Icarus. That's how the story of Icarus goes, though. Isn't it? Icarus didn't fly to the sun. His journey was limited to our atmosphere. He got too close to the sun and his wings melted. Ashley raised an eyebrow. Oh, is that what happened? Now the part at the beginning of the story where his dad tells him not to fly too close to the sun or his wings won't melt makes a lot more sense. That's like foreshadowing. We're forgetting a part of the story though, said Shay. Icarus' father told him not to fly too high or the sun would melt his wings. But he also said not to fly too low when crossing the sea or his wings would get wet and he would sink and drown. Wow, so Icarus flying high was actually brilliant. His wings melted, but he managed to avoid drowning. Ashley's voice was so monotone, but she was leaning forward. Well, no, he still drowned because after his wings melted, he crashed into the sea. Ashley gave a nod of acknowledgement. It is rainy outside. Wonderful. Same result, so the moral of the story is that you're doomed no matter what you do? No, said Shay. He drowned, but before he drowned, he soared. The story still ends with him drowning, said Ashley. Every story ends with death in some way, Ashley. The question isn't whether you will die or not. The question is, before you die, will you take the opportunity to see just how high you can fly? Alright. Nice little story. Let me very quickly... It only seems like it's going to be rain, so... hopefully no thunderstorms. I honestly plan on ending after this one anyway, so... hopefully no thunderstorms happen in the next 13 or so minutes. Actually, his original idea was do not steal. Floor sweeper. That experiment with the kitchen assistant V1 was a big success if you measure success in how quickly he was able to pulverize things generally. The throwing objects at the ceiling technique does not work for pulverizing carrots or celery for salads, but very good at pulverizing halogen lamp bulbs. What do you think about how much better it would be if the floor was self-cleaning? Ashley can sweep up a bit, but usually all they do is move dust around and it's hard to get them to actually collect debris and put it into the trash. If the entire floor were covered with air jets, any small bits of debris that dropped onto the floor would get quickly whisked away away towards a corner, or vacuum or something could suck them up into its disposal chute. Having a bunch of air jets would require a lot of power to run, but air isn't the only fluid that can be used to carry dirt and dust and broken shards of halogen lamp bulbs. Water could also probably do the trick. The issue is that water would damage the floor. Ripping up the wooden floorboards, and pouring concrete would solve that problem, and we could mold the concrete in a way that its shape directed the water towards the drain in the floor. That'd mean no more need to sweep. You could just hose down the entire cafe at the end of the day and it would drain itself. And it would be dry by morning. That's actually a really good idea that doesn't require any special weapon or specialized hardware once the floor is installed. I should copyright that idea to make sure that nobody steals it. Update. After several days of calling the Australian Copyright Council, I finally talked to a person who told me that what I want to cover in inventions is a patent, not a copyright. After more days trying to contact the patent office, I was told that someone already used my idea. I wonder if it's possible to sue someone for suing your idea before you came up with it. Pretty unfair. I'm not able to patent an idea just because I'm too young to have had the idea before someone else claimed it. Knife Retriever V2. Previously, I discarded the idea of using a large electromagnet to retrieve the knife that was lodged in the ceiling. Research has led me to believe that the knife in the ceiling is actually stainless steel, which contains iron. Iron is ferromagnetic, which is weird because you'd think that only ferro would be ferromagnetic, but I guess iron is too. Also, I was able to find a gas-powered generator that could supply enough power to run an electromagnet for a short period of time, so I don't need to worry about the circuit breakers. Requires a lot of gas, but luckily getting the knife down only requires running the electromagnet for a short period of time. Bring the electromagnet by spooling a power cable around a piece of iron. Good news is that the electromagnet is great at pulling knives from where they are. Bad news is that it pulled all the knives from the drawers that were within a meter of it when it turned on. Also, a knife in the ceiling wasn't effective because it was too far away. Looked it up, and magnetic attraction follows an inverse cube law. Not sure what the opposite of a cube is, maybe a sphere, but the more I think about it, the more it makes sense that objects further away aren't pulled as strongly by the magnet. The Besieger 5000. After my lack of success with the knife retrieval V2, I asked Shay for help and he lifted me up so I was able to pull the knife from the ceiling. He asked how long he'd been up there and I said, "How long?" He said, "More than a day." I said, "Oh, only enough for a day," which is technically true. Glad asking Shay for help succeeded, but I think in the future there needs to be a way to automate the process of asking Shay for help. We need to create a robot with speech capabilities that is capable of asking for favors. And I could have the robot ask for favors on my behalf. This is a good idea because usually when you ask someone for a favor, then you owe them a favor afterwards. If we're the robot asking for their favor, then the robot would owe the favor, not you. The person would ask the robot to do them a favor, and the robot would say, "Alright, I'm only capable of talking to people, not doing tasks." And if the person asks the robot to ask you for a favor, the robot would say, "I'm sorry, my battery is running low," and it would self-destruct. It would be expensive to build a new robot every time you had to ask for another favor, but it would be better than having to owe someone a bunch of favors after they helped you. Man. Actually, just trying to get out of work. Yeah. Oh, we're over here now. That's where that door leads. Alright. Yeah, there's Tuan and Hannah. Is Samantha down there with someone else? Who is that? That's just an entirely other person. Doesn't even have pupils. Awesome. But yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna end things off for now. Running out of my drink, and I have a couple things that I need to do. So, yep. So, thank you to anyone who stopped by. Thank you to anyone who might have followed today. I'm gonna go ahead and read my friend Pixel, who's currently playing Vampire Survivors. So, with that, my next stream is going to be tomorrow with a bit more Necrobarista. And guess we'll see what happens then. So, again, thank you to everyone for coming, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye!